Setting up the universal sheet pile threader. The universal sheet pile threader can be adjusted to fit practically any U, Z or straight web pile section. To do this, the rollers need to be adjusted to ensure the universal sheet pile threader runs securely on the pile. Some other simple adjustments are required to hold the pile to be threaded in the correct position. For Z sections, there are generally different interlocks at each end, and the leading can also be left or right hand. For this setup, we will look at socket interlock leading and set the universal sheet pile threader for both left and right hand pitch. First, let's set the roller positions. This can be done on a pitched pile or an offcut as we've used here. For the quickest results, set up the universal sheet pile threader with the Dawson construction plant setting data sheet. The sheet specific to your pile section can be found on this CD and in the operator's manual. This sheet eliminates the need for an offcut of pile section when setting up the threader. Taking the lower section of the universal sheet pile threader, release the swinging arm clamp bolt. The two roller supports on this arm have adjustment to compensate for varying pile thicknesses. Turn the roller adjustment screw and clamp screw to their maximum setting as shown. Now offer the lower section to the pile. You may find it useful to support the lower section on a piece of timber as shown. Next, to compensate for pile thickness, adjust the two roller supports on the swinging arm. The aim is to achieve a nice snug fit on the pile. Then move the roller supports away from each other to give maximum stability. Make sure that the lower section is pushed towards the pile whilst doing this adjustment to ensure the best results. Move the remaining roller support outwards for increased stability. You should now be able to move the lower section up and down the pile by hand. It should be a secure fit. If this is not the case, make adjustments to the rollers to achieve the correct result. The lower section and rollers are now set for a left and right hand thread. Now the upper section needs to be set, so that the pile is held in the correct position for reliable threading. First, loosen the 6 bolts on the underside and set the dimension from the Dawson construction plant setting data sheet. Then, insert the spigot of the upper section into the socket of the lower section and secure. If you have the Dawson construction plant setting dimension for the pile section being used, the guide and steady are the only items remaining to set. If for whatever reason the setting dimensions aren't available to you, the upper section can be set using a small 200mm long offcut. For the best results, the cut faces of the offcut need to be square with a reasonable finish. Thread the offcut down into the vice block and tighten the vice screws. Tighten up the 6 clamp bolts. The vice block has now been set in the correct threading position. Push the steady into near contact with the pile and tighten the bolts. Do the same with the guide. Both the steady and guide provide additional support to the threader when in operation. The vice stop positions the pile to be threaded in the vice block. Push this into light contact with the pile and tighten the collar. This dimension can be obtained from the Dawson construction plant setting data sheet. A quick check can be made by simulating a threading operation. The only item now not set for the opposite hand of thread is the guide and steady on the other face of the upper section. These will need to be set if you are threading singles. The lower section is turned through 180 degrees and placed onto the other clutch of the pile. As before, the guide and steady are pushed into light contact with the pile and tightened. The guide is positioned with the vice in the forward or threading position. Congratulations! The universal sheet pile threader is now set fully for your pile section, for both a left and right hand thread.